Hello, gorgeous. Tonight we're checking out the Kawai SX-240 analog synthesizer from 1984 and its little sister, the Kawai K3 hybrid synthesizer from 1986. I say little sister, but truthfully, they are both mammoth synthesizers in their own right. And what's so incredible about the Kawai K3 is that you can still get these really reasonably for about $900 or so. Sometimes you can snag a deal. Dubstation Zero was saying that there's one in Huntington Beach for $350 right now, which would be an insane bargain. Both of these synthesizers are similar in that they share the same filter, the solid state music 2044 filter, which is also in the Korg Polysix and is similar to the 2040 filters in the Prophet 5 Revs 1 and 2. So they have famous analog filters in them. We've got digital oscillators here that are derived from additive synthesis. And you actually have an additive synth built into this, which is pretty crazy. We've covered that in live streams before, so check that out if you want after you're done watching this video. And then the SX-240 is an 8-voice stackable digitally controlled analog oscillator synth with the unique feature of having 2 DCOs per voice plus a sub oscillator, as well as an ensemble chorus. The list goes on and on of all of the different things that you could get from both of these synths. So without further ado, what we're going to do is check out the sawtooth oscillators real quick, and then we're going to jump into the filters, check out how the difference you get between, even though they have the same filter, hypothetically, we've heard before in doing these live streams that sometimes even if a synth has the same filter, it can sound quite different based off of how it's implemented, the gain staging, all of that sort of a thing. So we're really going to be able to hear the difference of how this analog filter chews on digital oscillators versus analog oscillators. So let's go pull up a initialized patch, and I think I have one that I've made on both. Yep, so you can hear immediately a bit of from the difference in the fidelity. So we're actually going to hear a little bit of aliasing on these digital oscillators. Remember, this is 1986. Digital technology was very rough, so these oscillators are not super high fidelity, which I think makes them sound better, actually. You can really hear it as we start to go down, whereas we have pure, gorgeous analog oscillators up top. These are some of the best analog oscillators. The sound is just so pristinely clear. I think it sounds really great all the way down. It's so thick, but bright, clear. I mean, you just get all of that definition. I imagine, without looking at an oscilloscope, that is a perfect sawtooth. If it's not, then I don't want a perfect sawtooth. The Kawai K3, on the other hand, is incredibly filthy. That is barely a sawtooth wave. Listen to that. Now, by the time we get up to about C3, you can still hear that up here there's a noticeable brightness difference where we're still sort of shaving off that high end, and you hear that aliasing from the lower resolution oscillators. That goes all the way up past 15K. You can hear that that's getting capped off. Interestingly, I don't know what it is about, it could just be something in my signal chain, but every time I listen to the SX-240, I actually hear some intermodular distortion on the higher notes. You can hear that weird kind of thing going on there. Whereas here it's very clean. Do you guys hear that? You can really hear some nastiness. I hear some nastiness on this too. With this one, you just tend to lose that high end. You never really have it. And then below C3, you start to get those glassy things. Walter asks, have you ever heard a modern virtual analog that sounds like either of those? The answer is no. And in fact, I wanted to ask you guys if you want me to make a sample pack from the SX-240, because what's crazy is the Kawai K3 right now you can get for $900, which I think is still a bargain. The Kawai SX-240 goes for about $2,500 normally, so quite a bit more than double. But there's not one for sale at all in the world right now. This is an incredibly rare synthesizer. It's gorgeous too, by the way. I mean, I don't know how well you can see it on the stream, but it is one of my favorite looking synths of all time. And they made less than 1,000 of them back in 1984. And so even fewer of those have survived till today, to the point where there are no Kawai SX-240s being sold on Reverb or eBay right now. Like, if you want to get one of these, I'm sorry, there just isn't one. And that's never happened to me before when I've done one of these live streams. That's the thing, by the way. We check out two different synthesizers or do something synth related every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern over here on the Vulture Culture YouTube channel. And shout outs to all of you filthy scum for making it amazing, making Wednesday night the best night of the week here on YouTube. So hopefully there will be another one of these for sale by the time you're watching this video, but you know, we'll see what happens. Why don't we jump in to the filter? And we have a couple of ways to do it. We could actually control it directly from the panel. I have a stereopping SX-240 synth controller, so I'm going to use that. But you could also control it just with this little alpha dial here. They both have alpha dials. The K3 actually has the better interface. With this one, you need to use this parameter cursor, go left and right, and then up and down, which isn't bad, but it's like takes a few steps. Over here, if I want to control the cutoff, I just hit the cutoff button and now I'm controlling it. So you can hear there's definitely that. So let's start with the Kawai K3 for funsy. We'll bring the cutoff all the way down. You can hear that nice clicking in there. So we just make sure that the EG intensity, yep, it's all the way off. So you can hear immediately that the Kawai K3, the cutoff can go lower. That's not necessarily, a thing that really matters in this case. But I suppose if you ever wanted your bass, if you ever wanted to crank the bass on this synthesizer. So I'm cranking the resonance here, and you'll notice that we're not able to really isolate the lowest frequencies to really bump those up, really shove that ass into the sound. We're getting this weird sort of organy thing because the filter just won't go that low. Conversely, over here, we can go so low that I'm hearing nothing. And if we crank the resonance up all the way, we can see if we can find... we can get some crazy subsonic shit. Wow. So that's a hopefully you're listening with some really great speakers, some headphones or monitors where you can hear those super deep sub frequencies. Peter asks, would you be able to apply the built-in chorus to the sound you're playing on the K3? I think it was on. But yes, this has a built-in chorus. This has a built-in ensemble chorus, and they are different. The ensemble chorus is actually a 3-bucket brigade delay based ensemble, and it sounds good. It sounds very string machine-y, and it loses a lot of low end. The chorus on the K3 I prefer immensely. I think it sounds better. It's more of a traditional Juno style chorus, and it's variable, so there's different settings. You can control what you're looking for depending on that. Yes, there are Teisco. Good point, Kenzie. So Kawai bought Teisco synthesizers, and so there's also Teisco branded SX-240s out there. But yes, check out the difference of that incredible low end by cranking the resonance. So for creating bass sounds, right, this is kind of a bummer that we can't go that low. So just something to think about. I mean, how often do you really do that type of thing? I don't know. That's up to you guys. I don't really have a, it's not the thing I do all the time. But I think for someone out there who makes a lot of dub bass lines, for instance, that's a non-trivial difference. So anyways, but we added some resonance just to highlight the difference there, but really we're just doing filter sweeps with no resonance. I'll do another one this time on D, just so that we are, all caught up here. So you can hear quite a bit of that sound coming through. Now, of course, the biggest difference I'm hearing really isn't in the filter. I'm hearing the difference in the resonance, in the aliasing. So now let's go over to resonance and add, let's see, what are my amounts here? So I'm going to add 25 out of 100 possible values, cutoffs all the way down. Over on the Kawai K3, we have a value of 31. So there's about a third, a little less than a third, the amount of possible resonance values you can have, which for some people might be also a bit of a bummer. For me, I think 31 resonance values is probably good. So what would that be? 7 or 8 maybe? And then we will just grab the cutoff. So again, let's hear how these filters talk. Do the K3 again. I just want to confirm here that, yeah, I have let's just make sure that we can't go lower. Nope, that is in fact as low as the filter goes, which again is a bit of a bummer for me. Jens, welcome to the stream. How's it going? Yes, I'm a big, yeah, BT and Espen Craft, Peter was saying, has praised the K3 for its bass response. It's pretty incredible, the difference here. So you've got a bit of a trade-off. Talking about the character differences with the resonance at about 25%, I actually catch a little more character from the K3. One more time, let's just check it out. Little bit more of a vowel-y thing going on. It's there, but it's a little bit dialed back. So let's bring it up to 50%, everybody's favorite number, 50%. And same thing over here. We'll just go ahead and add this to, so of 31, we'll make it 15 or so and bring the cutoff all the way down and we'll try again. So this is the K3. All right, so I want to know what you guys hear. I can always give you guys my opinion, but I think it's better for whenever you guys tell me what you're hearing from the sound. So what are you hearing from the Kawai K3? I'm going to do another sweep or two, and then I'll go over to the SX-240 without talking. That way your ear doesn't forget what it sounds like. Our ears forget things so quickly. Ricky, welcome to the stream. How's it going? So what are we hearing between the two synthesizers? I'm definitely hearing a difference here at the 50% mark. Both of these synthesizers drop volume with resonance pretty similarly. I did a test before the stream just to make sure that I got the balance pretty close. And it's pretty impressive how similar the synths are at the filter level. So what's everybody hearing? Squidcap says, weird harmonics in the Casio. Casio? Tonight's stream is the Kawai K3 versus the Kawai SX-240. I don't know which of the one you're talking about. Kenzie says it's much more smooth on the 240. That's an interesting take. I'm not really hearing the smoothness difference. Well, oh, actually, sorry, let me rephrase that. There is a little bit smoother action from this MIDI controller. This is a Tontec modified SX-240, so it's going to have that smoother. Over here, we're going to have a little bit of stepping that is from this increment knob and not from the synthesizer. Synthesizers, envelopes, and LFO are very smooth. Ed B, welcome to the stream. Jens, how's it going? No worries, Squid Caps. Welcome. 240, I appreciate you being up and hanging out to check out tonight's live stream. So, what I'm hearing is a very nice vowel-y character, but what's missing is that incredible, I always say it's like Oberheim-y SSM filter characteristic over here. Some of it might be filter slop. Zero, there's that sound versus I'm just not really hearing it there. I'm hearing a very nice whoa, sort of. I mean, it's that great SSM sound, but here, I think it's filter slop. I think it's actually that the filters per voice are a little bit offset. Let's try it out just with one note at a time. I don't know. It kind of sounds... One note at a time, you really hear the aliasing. You just get that wonderful vowel-y character from the SX-240 that's not there yet. Let's take the resonance up to 75% or so. I'm going to bring it up to 25 here, and then on this guy, we'll bring it up to 75, and we'll see how they sound. So again, I want to hear what you guys are saying. Max, thank you for becoming a cultist. Oh my God. Thank you. I really appreciate it. It's your guys' support that makes it possible for me to be able to take off work and be able to do this every Wednesday. So I really appreciate it, you guys. All of the members of the channel, you are awesome. By the way, don't forget to take advantage of the discounts you get on my products. So that's Diodes and Rust, my vintage drum samples. You can get that for free. Inktomi, my chorus and reverb plugin, that's also for free. And Neon Chronicles, my library for the D50, that's half off. That's if you're a member of this YouTube channel. So thank you, Max. Take advantage of that if you can. Yen says, I remember a good filter on the K3, but not good basses. It's funny. That's kind of the opposite of what I'm experiencing tonight. Have I tried the Yamaha FS1R? No, I have not. I don't even know what synth that is. What am I missing here? Parameter. Oh, wait. So let's bring that resonance down in the cutoff. Here we go. So what I'm hearing is closer in resonance to where we are at with 50%. So I think this synth just scales resonance a little more gently than the SX-240. Let's check out 75% resonance here. Now, I am fascinated why that filter sounds so freaking good and has that Oberheim, honestly, Korg Polysix, but the difference is the Korg Polysix is very warm. It's very dark even. It's like a moody soundscape generator. SX-240, very clean, very bright, very full of presence. And so those two synths have very similar sounding filters though. The Kawai K3, there's that wonderful sound effect for whenever someone becomes a member of the channel. Kawai K3, on the other hand, is same exact filter, but doesn't quite have that talky character. Dr. Synth, welcome to the stream. He says, two of my favorite hidden gems. Thanks for doing this. The difference you're noting is that the analog 240 waveforms have more of the highest harmonic to tilt the filter than the wavetable. I'm not so sure about that. I maybe, but I think the filter, there should be able to get those harmonics out of there. I could be wrong, of course. Ricky says the K3 needs programming, but you can save sounds to a card. It sounds great, but some time to get into. This is the easier synth to program of the two, for sure. That would be my opinion. Is that the S240 at the same volume sounds a bit quieter. There might be little volume differences, so I can bring that down a bit. Yeah, before the stream, I did my best to sort of get them approximately the same volume. Let's go ahead and take the resonance all the way up and see what happens. Kawai K3. That's an awesome sound. We could tune the filter. It does have key tracking, by the way. I would like to point out you guys hear that cyclical thing going on there? I have no idea what that is. Honestly, to me, at 100%, that doesn't sound that different overall. I think that it sounds pretty close. I think with just a little less resonance, and I think if I bring it down to 30, this is one of those synthesizers like the Chroma Polaris and a couple of other synths where they intelligently scaled the filter. So if you think about it as like a linear resonance curve, right, from no resonance to all the resonance, right? The way that these synths work is that it's a very gentle curve, and then right at the end, like it skyrockets up into fully self-resonant, which is great because you have more control over that mid-range there. And so let's see real quick if I'm right about that. Yeah, so at value 30 of 31 possible resonance values, it's actually still a very gentle resonance amount. On the other hand, moving over here, so you can see it's a similar thing that happens, some value right here, so. But what's so awesome, yeah, I can't help but experience that the Kawai K3 just doesn't have the same gorgeous sort of talky SSM character to the filter as is, which is interesting. Yeah, so Dr. Synth is pointing out some stuff about gain staging, and that is the big difference between filters and how they'll sound, I believe. Ricky says, how about that K3 chorus that everybody hates on? I don't hate on it at all. I think it is much better than the one, the SX-240. Yes. 240 had more character. It does have just more of that magic sort of SSM edness to it. So now that we've covered the filter, why don't we open it up all the way? Same thing over here. We'll just open it up. What a difference. Is that really the filter all the way open? Oh, no, it's not. I was just about to say. Whoa. Knocking my phone over. So, let's talk about the oscillators. And I think we'll actually do a little interesting kind of comparison here. So first off, we have a balance control between the oscillators. Now in this case, I have two sawtooth waves set up here. So if I bring it to 0, we will hear both oscillators, which sounds almost identical because, of course, with digital oscillators, they're going to sound very good. So what we need to do is introduce a little bit of oscillator to fine tune. And now we have a really lush sound. I'm going to add some release to the VCA. Just so that we get even more of a beautiful sound. So now what's interesting is, again, we've got a sort of a sound difference to the oscillators. So when you're playing C3 and up here, it sounds really good because that sort of loss of high end is sort of the comparison to last week. We checked out the Oberheim Matrix 6 versus the Prophet 600. The Matrix 6 just didn't get quite as bright, which actually sounded better. It sounded better on the Prophet 600 when I didn't let the filter go all the way. It just sounded fatter and warmer and more analog, whereas the Prophet 600 with the filter all the way open kind of sounded a little bit thin. I suspect a similar thing here. Let's see if we can take that detune all the way. We can detune positive and negative, which is interesting. So up here, it's a little pitchy to me, a little seasick. If you want to have like a really like crazy hardstyle Hoover sound, it's fine. It's not bad. You know, or a crazy bass line. Like a Reese bass line. It's crazy though, that like digital, noisy, crazy, glassy character to it. Actually, it's not that bad, but for chords, it's on the edge of seasick. Why don't we go up and go to the VCA and we'll add some release. Oh, that was the VCF release. Now, going over to the oscillators. So we're just checking out the sawtooths right now. If we want to turn the DCO2 on, we can do so like that. And you'll notice that it's a little bit of a, it's a little, you know, less perfectly tight. When we put the detune or the balance, the detune to 0, we're getting a very slow phase. Over here, well, actually, weirdly, over here, now I'm getting no, it actually seems tighter tuning. Fascinatingly. Let me just make sure here that the pulse width. Yeah, DCO2 fine. So let's add some detune here. So we can take it all the way up a full semitone, I believe, which is pretty cancerous. And in fact, what's interesting is this goes +10, -10, and it's almost kind of the same thing. Vulture Mom, welcome to the stream. How's it going? FS1R Max Matson says is an 8-operator FM synthesizer with a 4-band filter. Whoa. You definitely got to check that out. What year is that from? So let's see, +5 fine. Let's go ahead and do the same thing over here and add 5 fine and see how close the detune is. I think they're close enough to say that that is pretty much the semitone, or I'm sorry, the sense value. It's crazy, the fizz on the SX-240. But for a lot of people, I bet, there's going to be that element of it where it's a little too fizzy. And this is actually the synth that's going to sound more vintage. So depending on if you're looking for that vintage sound, right, you might not want the SX-240. It's as bright as a modern analog poly synth, which wasn't that common in 1984. Westbeth Kid, I am that man that likes the Hoover sound. You can play that sound for me any day. Just beat it into my fucking skull, and I love it. Jens, the chorus is not noisy on this K3, or at least not more noisy than any other chorus that I know. I like the Hoover sound too, Cody. And by the way, welcome to the stream. So yeah, we can get some pretty good detune. I'm going to bring the detune up as far as I can take it, which seems to be about 6 semitones. And we'll just do the same thing here. We'll bring it up to 6 and see if that's about right. Interestingly, it seems like, yeah, it's about the same, but the detune, the way those analog oscillators intermingle, there's like a little, I wouldn't say it's VCO like, but there's a little bit of something in there that gives it that like. Actually, another difference here is that when you add DCO2 on the SX-240, and I only really noticed it in that example, DCO2, I believe, is always a square wave. And so for that reason, we should actually go to oscillator 2's wave and move it to value 33, which is a square wave, I believe. That's a probably more fair comparison. Nope, that's noise. 29 is square wave. Let me see here. Do I have a noise level? Brass is off. That's a thing. DCO2 is on. Let me see here. Saw. Maybe not. Let me see. Forgot. Can you turn? Yeah, you can turn the sawtooth off, actually. Yeah, it is a square wave. So why don't we just check out the DCO2 square wave? And so we can just go over to balance and bring that all the way over so we can compare the difference in the square waves now. So going to the low end first, or why don't we start at C3? That seemed like a fair place to start on the two. Bad Lux, how's it going? Yes, the synth god is here with the guns you need. How's it going, my friend? Don't drink coffee while playing your K3. Yeah, K3 is very gig worthy, Todd. I absolutely think so. Let's check out C3 square wave. A little bit more volume out of the K3, so I'll just bring that down. Actually, very similar. A little bit more high end out of the SX-240, but all the way up here at C, whatever that is, 5 or so. Really trivial, the difference. Little bit of intermodular gunk on both of them, going down to C1. This is where you get a huge difference in terms of fidelity, right? Now, while I like the sort of darker, crunchier, whatever sound, I think on the square wave, it's less flattering. That's cool. Wow. On this lowest note, though, it's not even close. Low note. Well, they're actually kind of close. You just get that kind of glassy thing, which the glassy, low fidelity nature of the K3 really sounds great for pads and things like that, or E-pianos, right? You can sort of get like DX7 style E-pianos out of there. But so it is interesting though, right? Because if I turn the sawtooth back on, we have a different blend, don't we? Over here, if I set the balance to equal, I'm hearing more square wave here. Getting a lot more bright sawtooth. So I'm actually going to bring the balance a little bit back. Excuse me. Maybe even a little more. Yeah. So at about 5 on the K3, we're getting more or less an equal oscillator. Oh my God, that is hilarious, Bad Luck. I'm going to have to get that tattooed under my eye. The Aquatic says that I might have a little bit more release on the SX-240. So why don't we just add a little bit more in that case? Yeah, you're right. They're probably a little bit, well, they're similar curve. They're close. God, the thickness on this synth. I just love how this synth sounds. I know I'm going to, I don't know. Jens, I would be very surprised if the K3 sounds better than the K3M. I can't imagine what's different between the two. I'd be happy to be wrong. If someone knows, they can drop it in the comments. That's more than fine. So what else do we have? Well, we can actually put another pulse width wave on the SX-240. And that has its own pulse width. So we can listen to just this. Why don't we go to DCO, turn it off, DCO2, turn it off, and the sawtooth wave, turn it off. Now we're listening to just the pulse wave. And we can go to pulse width modulation. And what's interesting is at 0, it's actually thinner than a square wave, right? Fascinating, right? We could make that narrower. And I think it sounds really great. So it's very interesting how DCO2 is always a square, and I don't think you can do anything about it. DCO1 has a sawtooth you could turn on and off, as well as a pulse wave that can't get particularly fat. Like, it's never all the way there, right? Let's go look at the LFO. Where is that sweet LFO? Down here. And actually, here we go. I know there's a way to create pulse width modulation. We did it before, but it's not sticking out to me. DCO coarse, fine, brass. We can do a few different things here. I know we can do it. Pulse width modulation. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be. Am I just like blacking out? Is there no pulse width modulation? No, it actually even says on the guy here, pulse width mod. So I'm missing something. It must be somewhere I'm not expecting. We've got LFO to the VCA. High pass filter, that's off, right? Yeah, good. We can turn the ensemble on. For that string machine type thing. I know it's here somewhere. DCO2 on, bender, auto bend. We have auto bend too. I don't really know if anybody cares about that. I don't see where the pulse width mod is, so we might have to find that later. 40 Thieves, welcome. Yes, you can do ring modulation between, that's what the brass setting does on the SX-240. So that's super cool. JX10 sounds better than MKS70. It's cited. Yen says it is cited on the internet, like with full confidence that if that's a thing. So Roland liked to change up what was going on under the hood with their rack mount synths. That's true with the Alpha Juno and the MKS50. It's true with the Super Jupiter. Isn't quite a Jupiter 8 or a Jupiter 6. I'm not aware that Kawai was the same way. Bad Lucks, I think you are talking about the UVI package. They've got a whole Kawai library there. Paul says, what is build quality like? I can't find anyone in my area who will work on any of my older synths. Both of these are built like tanks. This is an all-metal enclosure. It is heavy and feels built to last. It's got a membrane panel. Those, of course, will go on basically every synth. On the other hand, the SX-240, I've had to spend a lot of money repairing the switches on this guy, but this is metal too, wood side, you know, it's, they're both as good as it gets, I would say. So yeah. Nav Cattell, welcome to the stream. I'm very happy you're here. Ed says, I love my JX10. I would love to get a JX10 someday. 40 Thieves, how do you create pulse width modulation? That's what I'm struggling with right now. I know it's an option. Now on the Kawai K3, that's not a choice at all. We don't have it in any way, shape, or form. So what I'm going to do is actually go over and bring the balance just all the way to the left here. And quickly run through. Now, I've already done multiple streams on both of these synths individually. So if you're interested in it, go ahead and search for those and check those out. And we'll just go over some of the waves. So I know the first wave is like a piano. Or it's off, yeah. And you'll notice that it's kind of like a pulse wave, and that's why a pulse wave with a narrow width is a way to sort of simulate a piano sound. But this is an additive wave, actually, or it's a wavetable that was created with additive resynthesis. So what they did is they took an actual sample of a piano being played. They took that sound and they used additive synthesis to recreate that. And it's at its most bright. So the thing that's counterintuitive here is this is not a sample. It is a single cycle. So they intend for you to use the filter and to, you know, make an actual sound out of it. So they want you to sort of sculpt a sound with this to be able to get something close to a piano sound. Maybe a faster decay. that almost becomes more of like a... Yeah, so this is more of a dark piano sound. Right? So they expect you to do that to actually make it sound closer to a real piano. Let me just increase the cutoff a bit here. Very cool. We could add some velocity to that and make it happen. So let me see. I don't think there's any... 40 Thief says, I don't think there's any way to pulse width mod DCO2. I believe that to turn it on DCO1, go to the square wave and turn it all the way to the right. Okay, so maybe that's where I was going wrong. So... So all the way to the right on my SX-240 just gives me just a very thin... But I'm not getting any pulse width mod. Feel like I'm doing something very silly. So yeah, that's like kind of a general idea here about what we could do. But you'll hear all the way open. It's just super, so harsh. All right, moving along, let's check out some other waves. So you could do some bells, obviously, with this. If we just bring the cutoff down. Right, very beautiful. You also do sorts of cool glassy pads, right? So if we bring that back down. But we add some attack to it. Oh, that's it. So over here on the square wave, we've got pulse, pulse width, and then pulse PWM. I didn't realize there was 3 options when we're over there. So perfect. We now know what to do. So that's how we get pulse width modulation. And that's of course controlled by the LFO, so we could slow that down. Sounds very beautiful, but of course, what's interesting about it is we don't have the ability to get that all the way to a square wave. So it's kind of like a narrower, thinner pulse width modulation. If we turn the square wave on, the thickness, right? It's just beautiful. And that's without the sawtooth on. So for the hell of it, why don't we turn the sawtooth on and... Notice the sawtooth definitely has more beef to it than the other 2 oscillators. Let's turn that off and turn the sub oscillator on. So we actually have a sub oscillator on the synth too. Like that wasn't enough that you have a sawtooth, a square wave that can do pulse width modulation, a detunable second square wave, and then a sub oscillator. So it's really when you combine all of that that you start to get this like crazy sound to it. And then we can actually take DCO to, what is it? The range, we could take it up 12 notes if we wanted. man, just like, we could increase the range here too if we wanted, just to be able to, you know, fucking shit, man. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, and 40 Thieves points out there that we can even take it to an 8 voice. So we're in 8 voice right now, but we can actually take it, what is it, to, is it key mode dual? Is that the trick to it? Oh, yeah, that's where you can actually layer 2 different patches. So if you want to get pretty crazy with it. But that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for keyboard assign. So if I take that to poly 4, I don't know though. I remember from the stream before that when we, so this is poly 8 with playing 2 notes. So for me, the difference between poly 4 and poly 8's almost unnoticeable when you're using this much detune and pulse width modulation. Poly 8, poly 4. Other than the voice stealing, right? Poly 8. Yeah, to me, I don't even really hear a difference, to be honest with you, 40 Thieves. Autumn, have a wonderful night. Thank you for hanging out. Say hi to Xander for me. Yeah, I mean, the reason I don't have a K5 is for that UI, for sure. I think the K1, the K3, the K4, and the SX-240 are all really great. Kawai K5000S, I had that synthesizer as well. Incredible synthesizer, but the UI is just like, I didn't have the time to dedicate to really learning it, which is a regret. I wish I did, but it just is what it is. It wasn't going to get use while I was here. So anyways, back over to the K3. Let's check out some more of the oscillators that we have here. What a beautiful just pad. Listening to one oscillator too. So to create the thickness that we're hearing on the SX-240, you have to beef it up with some stuff. But for now, we'll just listen to that. So moving on to, we have about 30 waves in the K3, which is about double of the DW8000. That's very narrow pulse. Ooh. Little maybe saxophone-y action. Little vocally type thing. We bring the so to me, what I hear when I hear these sounds is just immediately just a characterful, different type of sound than I've heard from any other synthesizer, which I love that. So we have an E-piano sound. So now if I turn the decay all the way down and let's make sure I have the sustain all the way down, decay. I wish the envelope went a little further. Yes, Rick, I actually did, like Nick was saying, a whole stream just looking at how to make your own waves on the Kawai K3. Oh, that's so good. Talk about a thick sounding oscillator. One oscillator. Very beautiful E-piano sounds. Is it a DX7? No, not quite. It's kind of a different thing. It's this really warm, delicious sound. Moving right along, I don't want to spend too much time on this because we have done this before, but I do want people to be able to watch this stream and basically decide between these two synths. I've been very excited to compare these for a long time now. Can I get some scum organs in the chat? Wow, what an incredibly bell-like tone. Really gorgeous sound there. Wow, what a cool, I don't know if it's a vocal tone. You can look it up online. Yeah, that's what I love to see, Nick. Thank you. So this preset is called Vox Humana. I remember the 15th wave is called Vox Humana. And what's interesting about it is that the Kawai K1, which came out 2 years after this, all digital synth is very famous for its low fidelity choirs. But I could see how if you were to take oscillator 2 and set it to the same and then control the balance here and have two of them, get this really thin choir, low fidelity, crunchy choir sound. Let's bring the cutoff down and add the attack in. Wow, so interesting. Just totally grungy nastiness. Wow, fascinating sound right there. Let's bring this all the way up, balance all the way to the left, oscillator, let's get the last few waves. PPG wave type sounds here. And people did say this was a poor man's PPG wave. That's a scum organ I don't hate. Ooh. Wow. That waveform. Beautiful sound. Absolutely. Cody, you've got to get it repaired. This is fascinating because listen to how you get this like really high frequency as we go up around just above middle C. That little squeaky additive little note up there, it's gone. Wow. Just gorgeous. More vocally type stuff. Really aggressive bells if you want something like crazy. Again, we'll bring the cutoff down. And bring the attack all the way down. Wow, very strange sound there. Right, moving right along. I know there's a lot. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to stretch this part of the stream out, but... Oh, that's another good one right there. Nasal, but very beautiful high end, and then just a thickness. Sorry guys, we got to turn that into a pad. Very interesting how you get different rates on that, actually. Anyways, I don't want to spend too much more time. Again, we're just trying to cover some waves. This is like a grand piano too. Like a really powerful one. Square wave. Beatles Eternally, welcome to the stream. Well, Beatles, I don't know if I would agree with that, just because the PPG was so simple in relative terms. It was just wavetables through an analog filter. And the Kawai K5000S has an envelope per partial of 128 partials, and no digital or no analog envelope or filter. So, I mean, it's pretty different in terms of architecture, but I know what you mean as far as it being like maybe a master synth. Sawtooth wave. Noise. I don't hear a periodic thing that's giving away that being a sample. Which you do hear on like the Moog Source and another one of those synths has like that periodic noise thing. Let's go ahead and check out the noise. Let's turn off, and then turn the noise up. Wait, what am I missing? Sub oscillator off. Noise. That's crazy. It's the exact same noise, isn't it? Ambient Knots, welcome to the stream. How's it going, my friend? No, I'm not here for your opinion, though. Russ, I agree. I think the K3 has the better layout because you just press a button and go. Up here, you have to sort of move the parameter cursor around and then go, which is more steps, more button presses. Yeah, so super interesting. So now going back and let's take the balance to fitty, right? Or we'll go all the way to the right. Pick a wave for the right side. There's that really nice thick buzzy one. Let's pick another wave on the first oscillator. We'll do a square wave, and then we can bland the two. Man, that's so fat sounding. Let's bring the noise all the way out of this and then turn on the sub oscillator, turn on the pulse oscillator, the sawtooth oscillator, and DCO2. Let's go to, see, I went to press the button, but you have to just move it. So without a doubt, the SX-240 can sound bigger, right? It could just sound like you've got more high end to work with. Right? Because this is basically as bright as this synth is going to get. Well, I suppose we could pick a brighter wave, right? So if we just... Oh man, It is so fat though when you have two detuned square waves. I mean, gosh darn it. Pretty awesome too though. To my ears, the SX-240 almost reminds me, and people are going to take this as an insult to the synth, but it almost reminds me of the Alpha Juno in the sense that it's just got that clarity to it though. It doesn't have that watery, mushy sound that you get from a lot of two oscillator synths. Some of my favorite two oscillator synths. That is straight fucking water, right? Like that is so fucking... I don't know if you could get that low end. This low end is just not the SX-240's thing, even with the sub oscillator on. I mean, come on, right? We don't have the chorus on, right? That's the thing. Well, while we're talking about the chorus, let's kick on. Let's add to the VCA. Let's add some attack. We'll add some attack to both of them. So VCA attack. Seems like we can take it much further on the K3. Let's go ahead and, okay, for the hell of it, let's just, this is how slow it can go. A crazy long build. Let's check it out over here. Maximum on the SX-240. It seems like it's a little bit faster. Wrong. It's slow. It can go very slow. So both of them can go super slow. So that's good to know. But we don't need to go that slow. Let's bring it back and get a more reasonable. I think it sounds better for this with the sawtooth off. Cody, it's interesting that you're saying that it gives a strange phasey sound from the filters. I've never really got that myself. We could actually adjust the fine tune of the second oscillator. We want to get more of that octave sound. So in this case, now that we've spread them out, you can really kind of get the thickness from the SX-240 because you got that sub oscillator in there. Nav Cattell says that Junkie XL has a Teisco SX-240 and he loves it. Yeah, it's a special synth. But for me, I'm always going to be singing the praises of the Kawai K3. It's not that I don't think the SX-240 is great. I just don't know if it's worth almost 3 times as much. And I think you pay the price because of its rarity. But for some people, I know I'm not always in the majority when I do the poll at the end of the stream saying which of the two synths would you have. A lot of the times people disagree with me. So for me, I love the way the K3 sounds, but like when everything comes together, I just think it's really great and I prefer the interface. But a lot of people are going to like the SX-240 and prefer it. And it's obviously an amazing synthesizer. I'm so lucky to have one. With that, I'm going to bring the detune down just a bit. going to turn the sub oscillator off just to get it closer. I'm trying to give you guys like a fair comparison so you can make your own mind up. Pulse width mod sounds really good. Now, I have both of these synths running in mono. What I mean is there's a single output going. That's just how I have them set up today. But they have stereo choruses on both of them. So let's go ahead and turn the ensemble on. Now on the SX-240, we only have one option, on or off for the ensemble. It's a 3-bucket brigade delay chorus, which gives it that ensemble sound. So you've got 3 delays instead of just 1. On the K3, to my knowledge, it is a single bucket brigade delay, but it's variable, so you can get different types of sounds. Ambient says he just picked up a D70, awesome, and a TX7 owned by Tyco. That's so cool. He's definitely an inspiration to me. I was messing around with like live looping stuff today, and so definitely a really cool guy. Just awesome music. So this is, let's turn the ensemble off so you can hear what we're listening to. Ensemble on. Ensemble off. Ensemble on. So there's a very strong flangery characteristic. Let's go ahead and check out the chorus. So we have a bunch of different values, and actually someone in the chat actually posted it. Navcatel, I could try them with lots of reverb. I actually have my own reverb plugin, Inktomi. The link is in the description. It's free right now. It won't be free forever. So go check that out. But right now I still want to just focus on the core sounds of how these synths sound on their own. I do some streams where I put chorus and reverb on the synths, but today I didn't feel like doing that. I don't really know why. Cody says that SX-240 ensemble sounds incredible. Yeah, it probably is the best like ensemble chorus I've heard. I don't have a Roland VP330, so I can't like confirm that necessarily, but it's a very good ensemble chorus. The only problem I have with it is that's all it is. So with the chorus on the K3, we have a couple of different options here. That's without the chorus. Let's turn it on. We have a slower, less flangery sounding chorus. That's setting 2. Let's go on to setting 3. Setting 4, very warbly. Five. Don't really know exactly what it's doing on 5. Todd Phipps, yes, I agree that the 240 sounds like a Solina. It's got that string machine thing. So you can hear we have these like different flavors. I think somewhere like value 2 is probably the thickest. It's like a slow Juno warm chorus. The SX-240's ensemble is just very bright in comparison. this like nice slow chorus. And then off again. So you can hear how the chorus really adds like an additional thickening agent to the synthesizer, where see how far we can take that fine tune. We'll take it all the way, and you know, to really get maximum thickness. Little too much. In this range, we could just pick another couple random waves. And then we'll go over here. Not going to be an organ, that's for sure. Yeah, here, a nice, like, now we're going in a very different direction where the detune, we've got two very cold digital oscillator sounds instead of sawtooth type things. You can hear how that helps. Really take off the brittle side of the synthesizer. Over here, it's just like so bright. So let's bring the cutoff down a bit, actually. And then I think, what do I have to do for the LFO VCF attack? Here we go. So interestingly, too, the it seems like the VCF amount goes much further. And the decay can go much longer on the SX-240. Clayton Kennedy, the SX-240 is more expensive than your average Juno 106 nowadays. So Juno 106s have fallen quite far in price, down to about $1,500. Conversely, the SX-240, last one I saw sell for about $2,500, so $1,000 more. And there is not a single SX-240 that you can buy right now, period, in the world. They're so rare that there's not one on Reverb or eBay, which is crazy. It's the only time I've ever had that happen during a live stream. So what you guys can see me doing here is I'm trying to push the limits on these synths to see what's like the thickest sound I can make. Yeah, so I'm looking here. That's getting pretty cinematic. The SX-240 can just, between the sub oscillator and the second DCO per voice that you can tune up, you can get a 3-octave stack. Which the K3 just can't compete with. We could add some resonance to thin this out. If we wanted to have that sort of more, oh, it's so good on a pad, right? Wow, that is way too thick. We do have high pass filters on both of these synthesizers, so why don't we just go check that out real quick. This one is fully variable, so you can... Can't remember which of the Junos had a fully variable high-pass filter. I think it was the 60 in one, or I'm sorry, was it the 6? Only the 6? Or only the 60? One of the two. Let's go check the low-cut filter over here. And we have a fully variable low-cut filter as well on the Kawai K3, which I didn't remember. I thought it was like a 4-stepper like you get on the Juno synths, but actually, no, you've got a 4-step. Let's just check out the thickness check here. Or thinness check, really. Not surprisingly, the two synthesizers seem to be able to get the exact same amount of thinness, if that's what you want out of a sound. I don't really use high-cut filters that much anymore, but I imagine back in the day you really needed them. Ricky, have a great night. So why don't we talk about the LFO here for a second? So going over to the LFO amount, we could route it to, say, the oscillator real quick. So it starts with like a triangle wave, but if we have a couple of different shapes, so square up and square down for what it's worth, pulse down, pulse up, or I'm sorry, it was saw down and saw up, and then triangle, and then sample and hold, which in this case isn't that useful on the oscillator, but on the filter. Get some really gorgeous sounds out of it. If I turn the resonance down, we'll get a little bit more low end. Okay, so we can do the same thing with the LFO here, I believe. So we can route the LFO. we have a triangle wave. Right? If we go over here, we can change the waveform. Oh, this is interesting. Oh, wait, here we go. So that's saw up. And then we can reverse those. Right, which sounds pretty silly, of course, in that example. But again, using this on the filter, we go to the LFO and we turn that all the way off, but we go over to the filter, turn that all the way on. What shape are we using? We're using Now, what I'm interested in is you'll notice that the SX-240 has a shape, a little smoothness to the filter. You know what I mean? Like it's not really perfect, is it? If I go to... We're on the square wave, right? And so just as a comparison, let's go ahead and set the shape of the LFO. See, like how much more of a, we'll just increase the speed here a bit. Just so we're kind of close. Again, I hit the wrong button here. So you can hear, we have like a true square wave if we want to get that sort of sound. Oh, it's so beautiful on the K3. Over here, sounds like a triangle wave, doesn't it? But it's not. This is the triangle wave. Here's the square wave. Do you hear much of a difference? I don't. I hear it as being almost the same. If we change the waveform to the sawtooths, you can hear that it doesn't have a perfectly sinusoidal sort of shape to it, but all of the LFO shapes on the SX-240 have a slew or a lag or something to them that slows them down, smooths them out, and stops them from having those sharp shapes in here. Right, we could get like a really sharp shape out of that, and that's a major, major difference. Like if we want to use it for like a plucky type thing, there's just no way to get enough of a shape from this thing. It's just more of a sinusoidal sort of shape. Right? And for while we're here, if I go to touch sensitivity and I go to pressure VCF, we can increase this, and now I could add So yes, that's the point, Nav, is if you want to get these little details between the two synths, like I don't know if I'd really necessarily hear if you had these both drenched in reverb, the difference in the LFO shapes. But it is there. Whereas over here, to me, it's actually a very cool LFO shape because you don't hear it on every synthesizer, but it is a sawtooth, a sawdown pluck. It is not. So those are some of the major differences between these two synthesizers. Is there anything else I've missed, guys? 40 Thieves, is there anything you'd like for me to emphasize about these guys? Because I think more or less I've covered the major points of the differences between the two. And ultimately, it kind of just comes down to what you want out of a synthesizer. If it's flexibility and uniqueness and character, I think it's the Kawai K3. If you like that lower fidelity, vintage digital sound, I think the Kawai K3 has character and charm in spades. Oh, interesting. You see how that... You can do all sorts of stuff. You can actually control the oscillator balance with Aftertouch. Super fascinating what can be done on this synth. If you just want like one of the clearest, brightest, most impressively cinematic sounding analog synths from the 80s, this might be the one. Brass effect on. Isn't that huge with it off? Well, not too much of a difference. But I mean, just the power on this thing. Try to do these more of like a resonance pad. Let's do the same thing. Let's just add some resonance. And we'll turn the LFO to the filter down. different territory. Taking it as far as I could, but does this channel have a Patreon? No, I don't have a Patreon. I actually just have a members section on this channel. So if you see below you in the lower right hand of the screen, I think underneath the chat, there should be a little dollar thing, and you can become a member for $5 a month, and it helps support what I'm doing here, helps me take off work and make synthesizers a priority. Well, that's being routed to the VCA right now. So let's turn that on and put that onto the, what is it on the VCF? One of the things I wish this synth could do is have a little bit more range on the filter for the envelope. Drench that in reverb and try that in a small town. All right, guys, so I think that's a pretty good demonstration of the two synthesizers. And now we come to probably the most important part of the stream, which is, will you guys tell me what you guys think? So I'm going to start a poll in the chat. For the price, which is better? K3 for about $900 or SX-240 for about $2,500? Question mark. K3 or 240? Let's start the poll. I want to see what you guys have to say. It's always my favorite part to be able to see what you guys think, because I get tired of hearing my own voice by the end of these streams. I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, Alex, how much more do we have to say? Hopefully that was a good example, or hey, Gingy, welcome to the stream. How's it going? A good demonstration of both of the synths, the pros and cons for each. And what's interesting about both of them are neither of them is like perfect. Not everything you could want out of a synth from either of them. I have to say, in this comparison, the K3's limited range with the filter kind of came out a little bit more, but we didn't do like a baseline test. I bet it would be pretty sick on bass because of that. It can get deeper than the SX-240, which is fascinating. But for what we were doing, the sorts of like big pad type things, the SX-240 just had this cinematic thing where it just had so much high end. I might have to shoot the SX-240 out against the Prophet 600, like Battle of the Bright Kings, you know, because that's kind of the question mark for me now. In theory, the Prophet 600 should be superior, that has VCOs, but it's got Curtis chips, you know, so SSM versus Curtis chips, that's a thing, you know. Do the Curtis chips sound cold? I don't really think so. But with the VCOs, as well as the hands-on control, the simplicity of the sequential circuits model layout, plus Filter FM, which is beautiful. I love Filter FM. And I have to say the Filter FM on the Prophet 600 was probably the best of the three, which pains me because I want to love that Kawai AX60 with all of my heart. It is the synth I'm most excited about. So let's see. Whoa. I was looking away from the poll for a section. Ingolf, how's it going? Whoa, how many people have voted? That's crazy. It's 100%. The Kawai K3 right now is more worth it than the SX-240. I was not expecting that. I mean, I'm a Kawai K3 man myself. At the end of this stream, though, so here was like the thinking for me though with this stream was, can I sell the K3? I'm sorry, can I sell the SX-240 because the K3 has me covered when it comes to, you know, it's got the same filter. Well, the way the filter sounds is not the same. It's got that growly Oberheim-y gorgeous thing. I was having trouble getting that out of the K3, fascinatingly. Is the K3 able to do amazing things? 100%. Like we didn't even touch the additive synth engine in there. Can it do some of the most unique sounds? And can it do like a lot of the bells, glassy pads, and E-pianos from the DX7, but with incredible warmth? Yes, the K3 is like a warmth machine. It is so good with that like low mid-range sort of character. But at the end of this stream, I feel that the SX-240 cannot be replaced by the K3. And I wasn't sure, because to me, the difference between digital oscillators and DCOs is not always that big of a deal. But in this case, you could really hear the difference in the fidelity, the aliasing of the digital oscillators, as well as just like the thing the SX-240 does is just like wide open brightness. We've got detune, we got pulse width modulation, we got a sub oscillator. Like, it's just insane how big that synth gets with 3 octaves like that. Kawai PH50, tell me about that. Is that the is that one of their things? They're sort of like Yamaha, you know, 2-operator FM synths. I think we talked about it before, Gingy, forgive me. Todd Phipps asks, K3 and a Behringer Pro 800. Well, honestly, that's not going to be my path. It's not my path through the forest. But what I will say is, if you're someone watching this stream, right, and you want to get a vintage synth and maybe just a modern poly synth and handle your effects in the box, Behringer Pro 800 plus a Kawai K3 is not a bad combo, because that's going to kind of cover a lot of that. we'll have to see how the SX-240 stacks up against the Prophet 600. I wasn't going to do the stream because when I did the poll, I poll you guys all the time. Thank you for everybody who hangs out in the community section of this channel too, by the way. I do a lot of trivia and stuff. Mark, it doesn't do, neither of them do FM, which is a little bit of like I fucking hate that, if I'm being honest. Like, how awesome would it be if the K3 had FM in there? But I'll ask you guys sometimes like what streams you'd like to see, and I think the SX-240 versus the Prophet 600 was the least voted for of like 5 options. So I was just like, okay, they don't really care about that. But I think I need to know. I think I need to know about, you know, because listening to the Prophet 600 and the Oberheim Matrix 6 back to back, those two synths for me were the most overlap. Like, of the 3, or I'm sorry, like of all of the synths I have, I was like, wow, these sound very similar. Cover a lot of same sonic territory. Biggest difference is in the detune. And then past that, the Matrix 6 sort of has the advantage in terms of, I prefer the envelopes and it's got velocity and aftertouch. Yeah, but I've said I love my Korg 800. Is that a Poly 800? Got one of those over there. We're going to be doing some videos on the Poly 800 soon. There's a reason I haven't featured it yet on the channel, and we'll get there. Hopefully within the month it should be up on the channel, so that'll be a thing. We're up to 16 votes, and one person went SX-240. Whoever you are, I salute you, sir or ma'am. Thank you for being heterodox. I appreciate that. I'd love to see a K3 versus Korg DW8000 shootout. Hadn't really ever considered it, but now that it's sitting right above the DW8000, I might do that next week, actually. Some of the way I schedule these versus streams is just where the synths are floating in the room. They've really all moved around recently. Maybe we'll do that, Cody. That's a great idea while I have it. K3 versus SQ80. Russ, it would be very difficult for any synthesizer to touch the SQ80. That synth is... And also, I want to get better at it. I want to eventually do a tutorial on... I've done like a sound design stream on the SQ80, but I'm aware that I don't fully kick ass at that synth the way I could one day. Gingy says the Kawai PH50 was recently showcased by Heinbach. All the best cinematic patches. Grateful when he shows up keyboards. I gotta check that out. I don't know that one. Machine Storm with the heterodox opinion. I appreciate that. Don't ever be ashamed of going your own way. Go your own path. It's important. I sometimes vote counter to the stream. I thought the Cherry Audio was worth it over, because it's free, over the GeForce. I just didn't see the reason why I would do the GeForce SEM, why I would pay for it when the Cherry Audio one is almost there. You know, any differences were so minor as to not, you know, make a difference. To me, I would just use that money and maybe buy a different GeForce plugin. What are some of the other ones? I was counter on the Polysix recently. I was also, the one that I always go to is the JP8000 versus the MS2000. I prefer the MS2000. Seems like 99% of people prefer the JP8000, so I don't know why I hear that one differently. DW8000 versus Poly 800. I don't know. Both of them are very good, Nav. Maybe we'll do a shootout of those at some point. But it's pretty crazy. I don't think I've ever seen a 17 vote poll here, 17 people voting, that was 94%. I've never seen like a 94%. Usually what we end up at the end of the stream when we do one of these versus is we'll get like a 60-40 or something. But yeah, just crazy. So anyways, guys, speaking of Hoovers, someone was saying something about the Hoovers earlier. This was a fun one. I hope you guys had fun. I hope it was interesting to you guys. We're going to check out a K2000 at some point on the stream, I promise. People have been asking me for a long time now. Continue to be excellent, guys, and I will see you next week.